YouTubers and all those who happen to watch. This is episode 8 of the DanVanDam and Friends podcast. Gonna be flowing this one solo as much as possible. So, okay, let me put my bandana on and feel very funky, feel very fresh here. So, the first topic is Nintendo banning then unbanning the streams for the EVO 2013 event, which is generally some big fighting expo, which for a lot of fighting fans, this is quite a big deal. And the main reason why was originally they were putting Super Smash Bros. Melee aboard, and they were quite irate about this. They did not want any sort of, I don't know why. It was because of the footage. I don't know what the hell Nintendo was thinking, but they unbanned it anyway, and it was just, I gave up at this point, trying to crack open the shell, what I like to call the psyche of what these game publishers or developers are even thinking anymore. I just given up at this point. I think my brain has rotted with the tides of time, and I don't even think any sort of therapy can fix that anymore. I just don't know. So, yeah, it's quite interesting. Now it's unbanned, and we can all dance naked in the streets, I suppose. So, Florida computer ban has mistakenly put out by the Florida regulations here. So, Florida tried to ban internet cafes that were functioning as unlicensed casinos, but it may have banned smartphones and computers instead due to a language that defines slot machines as any machine or device or system or network of devices that could be used in connection with games of chance. And again, now, this is the quote, and then he said, I question the legitimacy of shutting down all the internet cafes in the first place, but this is clearly an overboard definition, as been pointed out in the suit following or challenging the law, brought by the internet cafe owner in Miami. Ironic, as Florida is a state whose law once took 100 words to precisely define buttocks. Now again, I don't know. I cannot see any sort of... it's getting... The days we know as having computers and consoles is getting better and better. I mean, how the hell can you screw up a bill? I mean, who the hell proofreads anymore? I mean, they just put them out at this point. They just throw them out there and just hope someone takes a bite or a nibble and or retaliates or makes them rebuttal or makes them backtrack or backstep. And you got people like Microsoft, now Nintendo, even though I don't think it was really, whatever, I give up. I just give up. And on a positive note, speaking of EVO, sets a world record, or at least a record for competitors and spectators. The world's largest fighting game tournament, or the Evolution Championship Series, EVO, scheduled to take place this weekend at the Paris Hotel and Casino in Las Vegas, was set to hold a record number of competitors and spectators. EVO organizers tell GameSpot that EVO has exploded in growth since 2009, since the release of Capcom Street Fighter IV, continuing from last year's record numbers. Very good on them. I think that, something such as, fighting tournaments are definitely pretty predominant. It's also interesting to see other people play these said fighting games versus myself, because I get redundantly bored. But again, this opens a no medium for this side of competitive gaming. But whatever. So, there's supposedly a new Ratchet Clank game coming out, and it's going to be abbreviated into the Nexus, which is supposedly based off a run-on story from one of the Ratchet Clank games. Again, I'm not 100% certain of every detail, every nook and cranny of a Ratchet Clank story lore, but however, this is based off some revenge, based off a sister that you supposedly locked away. Which, again, this is cool news. It means they're giving these new franchises, or these IPs, some more breath of air. I mean, heck, it's Sly Cooper, which did not do too well, sadly, but apparently it's a very good game. So let's hopefully see that this new Ratchet Clank game keeps the progress going with very good games, and being on a very fixed budget price, which is like $30 when this game comes out. So you can get it pretty cheap. So if you love the Ratchet Clank games, there you go. Very decent bundle game, or at least a budget game if you want to call it that, even though most of the games they put out by Insomniac are pretty AAA. Hoi. So some more news that I think was quite interesting was Second Life Studio buys out the store, which is a digital distribution service, which I usually bring up every once in a while on my channel. And these guys are pretty darn interesting when they develop their said client. And what this client does is it allows a lot of indie developers to put out their mods as well as general games on this website. I mean, it does not matter the quality of what a game looks like or anything in between. They allow people to have that freedom to develop their games and showcase them as large as possible, which again, it has a fantastic library that I've noticed of mod game content as well. So what do I think of this? I think it's a cool idea. I think it's a good move. I think that Second Life Studio, which is of course Linden Lab, is doing the right decision, because these guys allow expression and freedom, especially in their game, especially for coders and people who are very artistic or generally a very strong artist of said fingertips of mouse and keyboard or whatever you use, which is a bamboo pad for all I know. But anyway, these guys are very open-minded to said programs as well as games. So to see them help out the store and help it grow is a good move, especially for a lot of indie developers out there, and help them get their games noticed. So again, that's all the general news I wanted to bring up for this week. A couple interesting topics and segments there. But, alright, let's break down my impressions of Far Cry 3, which I think is going to probably take the rest of the remainder of this video to discuss. So, alright, Far Cry 3. Now, this game is practically off the same feeling of Far Cry 2, where you're just put out in this big open world and you're supposed to do this, that, and the other thing and just, go along with the story. However, Far Cry 3 takes that idea and runs with it even more. I mean, what they did with this game is pretty awesome. However, I am playing the PS3 copy, which obviously, as some PC Master Race people will generally say, it's not quite as good, at least visually and frame rate wise, but it's still a darn good port. I mean, it functions, so it's playable. And, the gameplay wise, it's really enjoyable. I am liking it. I usually get very bored with sandbox games, as is truth be told. I play games such as Grand Theft Auto 4, and all that. I get bored very fast with these games. I don't know what it is. I mean, they're not bad games. It's just my brain just completely shuts off and I get bored and I just feel like what I'm doing is redundant. At least that's how I felt when I was playing along with the storyline of GTA 4. I felt like the storyline was more disappointing than it was anything else. And I'm not the one type of guy that likes to do this sand destruction bullshit. I like to have leg room when I'm in the sandbox game, absolutely. Especially if I'm doing like a story mode thing. But, I want some sort of structure. I want something that interests me. And so far, the suburban kind of city life crap really bored me. I mean, on the other hand, though, I played games such as Saints Row the Third, and the storyline did not take itself seriously at all, and I think that's what made the game go through completely fine for me. I was enjoying it, I was laughing, the humor was, very adult-oriented, it was on pitch, and it just worked well for me. So, going back to Far Cry 3, it has a main villain, or anti-protagonist, named Vaz, which is a complete asshole, but he's a likable kind of asshole, if that makes any sense. So, you have to foil this guy's plans, take over his slave camps, take over his camps in general. These mini games. You have challenges to do. There's so much to do in this game, and I think it's really a well done game. At least so far of what I've been playing of it. The hunting parts are fun. You can collect you can collect leaves, which help you craft things. It's just a very open-minded game, which is fantastic. And I'm usually not too catered to these type of games, like I'm not really into them that much, but this one so far has catched my interest. However, I do play it in small fragments where I don't play an excessive amount of it. I literally limit myself to 4 missions or 4 tasks, or, to grind a little bit to get what I need to get, and then I stop playing for a while, at least for that day. So that way I can, be able to get something rolling and stop, and feel anxious next time I play to jump right back in and continue on. Because otherwise, if I keep on playing continuously, I would become burned out and uninterested in the game, which is not good for the game's sake, I suppose. But again, I digress. Would I recommend this game? I would say if you had a good computer, definitely grab it on the PC. As for its DLC, which was Dragon Blood or whatever the heck it was, I think that one looked pretty interesting too, but I'm going to complete Far Cry 3 before I even jump in the DLC or anything else related to it. As for the co-op segment, I still need to play with Strictly Sega or Charlie to actually indulge in that, as well as other couple friends who actually own the game too. So, overall, pretty rewarding game. I'm really having a ball enjoying it. So, yeah, but I would definitely say if you have a good computer, get it on PC. You probably would enjoy the immersive, nature of it a lot more. Probably a bigger draw distance. Graphics look a lot better, perhaps. But, it looks a little bit grainy. It's sluggish. The frame rates aren't as good on the PS3 for some strange reason. So, it's not a great port, but it's a good port, I would definitely say. So, if you don't have a gaming PC, next best step is go on one of the consoles and just call it a day and hang up your boots. But that's all I really wanted to talk about for real this time. I promise. I assure you. Touch your nipples and touch mine at the same time. We'll have a circle jerk of nipple touching goodness. But also bear in mind for children, Far Cry 3 is absolutely not for them. So parents, don't think that your kids are mature enough to play this game, because they're not. Hell, even I am not half the time playing this game. But, okay. That is all for this podcast for this week. I'd like to thank you all for listening in, and as always, more podcasts soon.